The security landscape's really changed over the last couple of years. We've moved very firmly from, certainly here in the UK, but also I'd say the United States as well and Western Europe, from a position where we were involved in the counterinsurgency in Iraq and Afghanistan to one where we were then fighting this group with an ideology in Islamic State that had captured ground and was trying to threaten our interests in Europe and elsewhere from their positions in Iraq and Syria. And then latterly the re-emergence of Russia as an aggressive enemy really on the eastern sort of shores of Europe. And so we have now, I think, this sort of twofold, two-pronged threat that we face. Whilst Islamic State has lost an awful lot, if not almost all of its territory, it remains as an ideology and therefore remains a threat to Britain and her interests. Likewise, so does Al-Qaeda, who have sort of quietly but very steadfastly remained a threat in the background and are now, we think, looking to sort of re-emerge as the preeminent Islamic extremist group out there. And then you've got the nation-state threat, not just Russia. I mean, North Korea, despite the efforts of the US president, I still remains a nuclear threat. The Iranians as well, and then China. The level of Chinese espionage in Europe and the United States is extremely high, I think much higher than most people realise. And then bring into that the advance of technology through all of that on both sides. And I think technology and being able to master technology is the challenge that everybody faces. It depends what sort of Brexit is negotiated. If it is a no-deal Brexit, then that is potentially very damaging for the UK and for Europe, I would say. We shouldn't see the UK in isolation here. If there is a deal passed through Parliament, I see no reason for things to be affected in any huge meaningful way. And the reason is that NATO remains on a military level the bedrock of European security, and NATO is not a part of the EU, and Britain will remain the biggest European member of NATO, one of NATO's largest spenders, one of NATO's largest militaries. On a security and intelligence level, so much of that is done bilaterally anyway, and there is a great effort within intelligence circles to make sure that those relationships continue regardless of what happens on March the 29th, because those relationships are valuable to all sides. But undoubtedly, there needs to be some thought and process given to where the UK sits in terms of Europol, for example, the European arrest warrant, and the Schengen information system and the ability to share data between Europe and the United Kingdom. The thing about the UK when it comes to security and intelligence vis-à-vis Brexit is it is something that the UK does do very well. And as the intelligence chiefs have made clear, quite quietly, but at times quite forcibly over the last couple of years, intelligence and security should not be a bargaining chip for Brexit. It is too important for that. Nevertheless, it is still fair to say it is an area where Europe needs Britain as much as, if not more than, Britain needs Europe. And so I'm quite confident that if a deal is passed, there shouldn't be too much of an effect to the security aspect of Brexit. I think the collection of individuals that come to the Congress, both from the UK and the security infrastructure within the UK, and then America as well, and from elsewhere around the world, firstly demonstrates the importance of a gathering like this and how it is viewed internationally. But bringing people together of a like-minded opinion, to share ideas, to talk about trends, to talk about where we are at the moment in what is a very fast-moving and quickly changing security environment globally, is beneficial because people can learn from each other, people can swap ideas, people can network, they can make contacts across the security sphere. And I don't think you can really understate the value of that. The value of coming together in one place over a couple of days and focusing on the security challenges that we all face these days is hugely important. And this event over the years has grown, and it now manages to attract some of the key players globally in the security industry. And that is hugely important.